Well, Neil Boritz is a syndicated radio talk show host, and Chip Merlin is a trial attorney. Both join me now to discuss it. You know, it's interesting because President Obama covered a lot of topics in his State of the Union address, but neither in that address nor since has he focused in significantly on the debt. And that seems to be the major story this week domestically, the U.S. deficit. Neil, Chris Stirewalt, our digital politics effort, called it a deficit of political courage on both sides of the aisle to tackle this issue. Is he right?
It's not a deficit of political courage. It's a deficit of stamina, I guess. Look, the politicians want to stay in power. That's job number one. Deficit, job number two. Spending, job number two. Stay in power. Keep my office, job number one. The people of this country do not yet recognize the crisis. They are not ready to give up their entitlements. They are not ready to sacrifice to bring this country and our spending and our debt under control. So as long as the people of this country are going to vote for their entitlements, for their government largesse, the politicians are going to give them what they want to keep their positions of power. When the people recognize the depth of this crisis, then the politicians, Republican and Democrat, will be in a position to do something about it.
Chip, where is the leadership on this? Because you had Jeff Sessions there, you heard him saying, you know, the president didn't do enough in his State of the Union. And both parties at that meeting yesterday, taking a look at it, seemed to be saying, I guess we're going to have to, we're the ones who are, or we're here in the Congress, are the ones who are going to have to take a look at this because they don't feel the leadership coming from the White House.
Well, I agree with you. I think there is a lack of political leadership. Thomas Jefferson called the public debt the greatest danger to our American democracy. And our leaders are the ones who have to point that out. Hey, in Congress, if they're starting to talk about passing laws that will help states go through bankruptcy, we know that our governments have got a major problem with respect to the amount of debt. This cannot be sustained, and we've got to stop it, and there are many different ways that we can try, but the first thing that we can do is significantly cut the spending that's going on. And
right,
there are a lot of people,
I mean, there are
Americans
lots of
who want
ideas.
that.
There are lots of ideas, and we just had a whole, deficit commission come together with a bunch of ideas. But the question is, to get out of any significant crisis, and we are in a debt crisis, you need leadership. You need someone to take the helm and do what's tough to do, try to gin up the forces behind it. Remember when we saw President Bush take on the Social Security debacle? It completely failed. He did not succeed in any way, shape, or form in trying to get people to take a hard look at that or go with his plan, but he tried. And the question is, Neil, should this president be trying harder to make us take seriously our debt and our deficit?
Not if he wants to survive. Once again, it comes down to the people. When the people demand something be done about the debt and the deficit, then the politicians will follow.
Aren't they, though? Isn't that what we saw with the Tea Party?
Well, we did with the Tea Party, but how much of the vote did the Tea Party represent? You still have people, don't you touch my Social Security, don't touch my Medicare, don't touch my Section 8, don't touch my entitlements. These people have to come around. They have to recognize the depth of this problem, and when they do, the politicians will follow.
What's that going to take, Chip? You know, he's so right, because I think the polls show that 70% of the American people want something done about the debt or the deficit, but the same number say, oh, but don't touch Social Security, and don't touch Medicare, and don't touch, I mean, they want something done, but they don't want anything done to them.
Yeah, courage is standing up and doing the right thing, even though it might cost you. And if our politicians will get off their high horse and recognize doing the right thing to save the country, to get this deficit down, because it is very dangerous right now, is a lot more important than their survivability as a politician. And they can join us back in the private sector. Doing the right thing is courage. And right now, our leadership doesn't have that courage.
Yeah.
Well, we know it's more important than their survivability, but their survivability still comes number one for every Republican, every Democrat, and in the White House. I have to stay in power. That's my first job.
Neil, Chip, thank you both so much.
Absolutely.